Hi everyone and welcome to part 7 of the Jetmads 148 P2V-7 Neptune. Paint is finally on and it's time to put some decals on. This thing is really starting to come alive, and once I get all the decals on, this thing is really going to look good. That's usually the part where it's like I'm really falling in love with a kit after I get all the decals on. So I'm going to go on here. We got a ton of decal sheets to go through. And then I am using the VP1 paint or decal scheme for this build. So I'm gonna get the camera turned around. There are a few other parts besides the fuselage to get decaled, along with the engines. The propellers have a couple decals on them, and the landing gear doors have a decal or two on them. So when I was going back through the instructions to dog ear the pages of extra parts that need decals on, I did figure out that I was missing two pieces on here that I did not attach. So I went through, and they're on the horizontal stabilizers, the parts that connect or go over the elevators on the horizontal stabilizers. So I got those painted and attached. And then also I noticed that there are one of the antennas on the tail broke off and went into oblivion. I searched for it for about an hour and a half and was unable to find it. And then also one of the windshield wipers went off into oblivion. It's in the land of the missing socks with the from the dryer. So those will probably either never be found, or I'll find them in, like, when I'm cleaning up 3 or 4 builds from now, and it'll pop up there. So if it pops up, the antenna pops up there, I'll pop that back on the kit. It won't be an issue. There's no decals or anything like that to go on it. So I'm going to get the camera turned around. I'm going to get my decaling stuff set up, and then we will get rocking and rolling. So I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, so I got the camera turned around. I'm going to do one-sided decals with you guys, and then after that I'll go off camera. I'll get the other side and the top side and all that done, and then I'll come back to you and show everything done. So the way I like to work with my decals on the instructions is I just like to start at the nose on one side and then just work around clockwise and get all the decals done on that way. So we got the first decal of number 77, which is right here on this sheet. So I'll get this cut out. The white ones are very difficult to find, and it is also very hard because this model does take up so much space on the workbench. Okay, so I'm letting the decal set for about 30 seconds in the water before I pull it out and then slide it on using the cotton bud. It's just the way I do it. I use a candle warmer on a bowl with water to keep my water warm. It lessens up the time that is required to put the decal in water, and also it slides right off. So it makes that a lot easier. And then also it keeps the water warm all day. And then, so for some of these sheets you need to make sure that, because it is a straight carrier film all the way across, the decals are not separated with separate carrier film. So you need to cut right alongside of the decal to get it right. Alright, so far these decals are going down really, really nice and really easy. No fights with any of them so far. But yeah, I'm really liking this. The hardest part is actually going between the 3 different sheets and finding out where that decal is that you need. That last one was a 2-part decal. So you have a white base for it, and then the actual decal, which the white base helps prevent the paint job color bleeding through on the decal, so that really helps make that decal show up. And we have a couple of those to do on here, but okay, I wanted to make sure that that stripe was all lined up and good to go on that. Probably my least favorite types of decals are the stripes. Minus, sorry, the very small stencil decals. Okay, that was the last decal for the front section. Now I gotta get it turned around and adjust the camera so you can see the back end. And also I gotta be able to see what I'm doing as well. Okay, that took a little bit to find the stars and bars. Just to make sure, because it's on the instructions, it's labeled 96 and I didn't see any numbers for 96 on the stars and bars. So I wanted to make sure that there wasn't a little stencil that went into the stars and bars before I did that. So, but this is number 96. So I'm going to get this soaked and get this on the aircraft. This needs to be moved a little bit, so we're gonna really soak the area to help the decal slide around, especially with all these rivets in the area. It's really gonna make it, and we want to make sure that we have it in the right place. So alright, so now we got it in the right position. Had to move it around a little bit and definitely used a lot of water to get that soaked in. But we'll squeeze out all the excess water And then when we get the decal set on here, and that really shrinks into the rivets, that's going to look really, really good when it's all done. I will say, so far I am very impressed with the decals from Jetmads. Alright, so with another large decal, I am going to pre-wet the surface, just to kind of give me some ability to move it around if need be. Get this brush cleaned. I found out some of the old Flory wash was still on this, so I want to make sure this brush is putting down clean water before I put a decal over it, and that just really ruins the process. So I'm just going to wet it a little bit. Alright, and then soak this decal. Get it as close to the right position before we lay it down first too, so I can already tell this decal is going to be a lot of fun to put down. It's a square box, and in between of here was another 3 decals that I had to cut out separately. So hopefully I can remember that when it comes time to put those decals, and I don't spend a lot of time searching for them on the regular sheet. So we'll get this on and get it all lined up. Alright. Alright, so that decal's done, or good enough. I think for the next time I have to put that decal down on the other side, I'm going to cut that into 4 different stripes and redo it that way. So that way I don't have as much of an issue with trying to get each one lined up or folding on itself and doing that. So looking at my camera battery, I have 38 minutes left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to turn the camera around so it's a top view. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to keep on going, and then I'll be back when it's all done and give you an update on how it's looking. So I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, I'm back, and decaling is done for the most part on this kit. Got all the decals laid down. They went down absolutely amazing. I had absolutely no issues with the decals. Only ones I had issues with were by user error, and that's the yellow box on the tail, and then the red stripe that went around the radar dome, as you'll see in a little bit, did fight me a little bit, but again, no issue with those. And then they did go down very, very well. They formed to the rivets. I do have a little bit more of work to do to get them into the panel lines in some areas, and then just getting rid of a couple air bubbles on the stars and bars. But everything went together really, really good, and the decals went down really well. So I'm going to do a quick loop around on here, but you can see the wing walk areas all along in there. This one did fight me a little bit going around the antenna. It does have, in the instructions, it has the walkway going forward of the antenna, but then that brings the rest of the walk area way too far forward on the wings. So I had to kind of cut a little slit on the walk area that goes over the fuselage and kind of try to slide it around, and it did crinkle up on me a little bit, but that's all right, for me at least. So just moving along, and then along the sides of here, I'm going to try to get a good grip of it, and moving along on the sides. Just again, everything went down super nice, no issues on it. And there's your top side. The one thing I will say is that the decal on the top with the eagle, alright, so it doesn't say it's a 2-part decal, but you do need to put a there are 2 decals to that set. You have the white blanking decal, and then you have the top yellow decal to go on that. But if you just pay attention to your decals, and you'll see the white eagle versus the yellow eagle, and you will know. And then the other thing about the decals is they're just all over the place. I think the first day when I was doing the decals, it took me longer to actually find the decals than it did to decal everything. So that's my one gripe about the decals on that, but there are a lot of decals. You have 3 sheets of decals for all 17 options that you have. So you have a lot of decals to throw into those couple sheets. So yes, I know all the numbers are going to be a little bit crazy, but you can make do. You just have to have patience and get done with the decals. And then also on the underside for here, get this flipped around. Only a few decals on the underside. You have your stars and bars on this wing, and then your navy on this wing. And then again, this front stripe right here did fight me a little bit, but I was able to get it to work for me. Alright, then moving on to some of the other parts that I decaled. So your props each have 1 decal each, and they look very nice on there. Here's that one, and then on the interior of the landing gear door, 2 of them, you have beware of prop in here. And then on the engines, you have the danger intake and then danger on both sides. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to spray over all the decals with a gloss clear coat to seal those in and protect those for future weathering. Also, I do need to go through, and then I'm going to go through with my razor blade and carve, say for instance with this jet engine. I'm going to come in here, I'm just going to lightly cut this right here, so that way, and now I'm going to go in and put in some more Solvaset, and that's going to blend that into that seam, right? I don't feel the need to really go through and add some panel liner, because the panel lines on here, they are a little bit deep, but on the back end, when you black baste everything, you don't need to panel line anything. You don't need to go through and do the panel line wash. So I'm going to go through here. I'm going to get the rest of these decals cut, so that way they will flow into the panel line, and then I'm going to do the panel line, or not the panel line, the decal set in there, so that way all that forms in. And then we're going to spray the gloss coat over top of everything to get that done and everything protected. And then after that, we will be adding a matte coat, doing the oils for the exhaust streaking, and then that is it. And then we are ready for final assembly, and I'll show you how I do my final assembly. I work from inside out on mine. So again, we'll do that when we start doing the final assembly. That will be the end of this build, or this part of the build, and then the next part will be the final reveal. So I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to go ahead and get done with all the panel line areas that need to be done, and then hit this back up with another coat of decal set. So I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, and I'm back, and we got the semi-matte coat put onto all of the Neptune right now. So we got one last thing to do on this, and it is doing the exhaust streaking along these exhausts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along, and I got the Abtalung Starship Filth ABT 510 right here, and also I'm going to use not that one, and then Abtalung Cream Brown ABT 240. So the Starship Filth will be the main part of it, and then the Cream Brown will kind of be like the lighter part of the exhaust streak. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to spread this, get a little bit out onto this cardboard box, and a very little. Even I know for a fact I'm not going to use all of this right here. I put this on this cardboard box, and I have my Abtalung odorless thinner right here. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to dip the brush in, and I'm going to get a little bit of oil onto the brush, and then I'm going to just streak it down here, get it all. I need a little bit more oil. Alright, so we got that started. Let's see if I can zoom in so you can see what I'm doing, how it's looking. Alright, so after I got that, I'm going to take this brush right here. It's just an old beat up brush, and I'm going to kind of pat it on here to really get the shape. I need a thinner brush. Again, another just old beat up brush, and I'm going to kind of tap it into place. Alright, so that one's done, and then we're just going to come along and repeat that onto the other exhaust. I'm not going too crazy on these exhaust stains either. Sorry, I'm getting over or starting a cold right now, so my voice is a little bit different and just a little bit nasally. Sorry, but I'm fighting it off with some vitamin C and Dayquil, and we'll see. Hopefully that helps. So now we're just gonna repeat it again for these, and then we'll come across, we'll flip this around, and there's a couple exhausts on the top side that we need to do it to. Then after all that is done, we come in and do the cream brown, and after that's all done, we'll be done with that. So, and then all I gotta do is put on the matte coat over the oil stains. This area is a little bit more difficult to get to. Alright, so the bottom side is done on that. Let's get this turned around and we'll do the top side exhaust. These are the ones that are really going to show. So we got this one right here, and then one that goes right here is going to go up and over the wing root, following the airflow, and the same with this one on this side. We only, yeah, two on this side. So again, just come in here, we're going to spread this oil just on a line along where we want it to go, like it's following the airflow, right? So we got that one done, and then we're just going to come in with our brush and we're going to beat it up a little bit, kind of spread it around, add that dinginess to the rest of it. I don't want this to be too crazy. On the exhaust stains, because looking at pictures I could find online, there wasn't too bad of the exhaust stains on this aircraft. So it's a very faint, subtle visual, and it looks a lot darker on the camera than it actually is, but still. So I'm going to just repeat it for the other side. Get that one flipped around on here. So that one's done, and then what we're going to do is after this is done, we're going to come in with this cream brown and add a little hot streak that's right in here, kind of blend that in, and it will tone it down a little bit as well, but it will finally add that last little bit of detail to it. So again, we're just going to repeat on the other side. Start on the port wing. Alright, so top side is all done with the Starship fill. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in next with the cream brown and just lightly, I mean very little, I'm just going to put a couple dots in there to kind of put it right at the tip of where the exhaust is the hottest, and then coming out a little bit. So the rest of this is all going to be faded in, but we're going to come in and actually we're going to fade down the very end of the exhaust as well afterwards. Alright, so let's get this top one done that you can see. Alright, again, I'm just adding a little bit of a streak right here. See, it doesn't go nearly as far as what the other one did. Then I'm going to come in here with this brush and I'm just going to tap it down. We're going to blend it in. And if I have to do multiple layers of it, I will. But it's that, we're going to do one more layer of this on this one, just to kind of lighten it up a little bit, especially right in here where the exhaust is the absolute hottest when it's coming out. So and then blend that in to the rest of the exhaust. And there we go. That's how that looks when all that is done. And it'll really show up at the end after I put the matte coat over it, to really take it out. And again, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to blend this in a little bit more. Just rubbing your finger over it kind of takes it down a little bit, just like so. Kind of feathers it out. Alright, and then repeat for the other two. So put this over here. Alright, so that one's done. You can see a little bit of the difference between the center and the outside. That's what I'm going for right there. And then we'll get this flipped around again. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get off camera, and then I'm going to go do all these bottom ones, and then after that I'm just going to spray the exhaust stains with the matte coat. Also, I need to spray the rubber tires, not the rubber tires, but the rubber on the tires, the painted rubber on the tires, a matte coat as well. And then after that is done, I'm going to start final assembly, and I'll be on camera doing that, working from inside out. I'm going to start with the nose landing gear, the bomb bays, and getting those on, and then doing the landing gear, and then the pylons and engines, and then working on the flaps. And then after that's done, flip it all over. We got the escape hatches to do and the antenna wire and the props, and then that's it for this kit. So I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to do these bottom oils real quick, and then I'll be back when we start final assembly. Alright, I'm back and I got all the exhaust streaks done. It's time to start final assembly. Finally. This kit has just been an absolute joy to build, and I'm ready to get this thing done so I can do the final assembly. Just a couple parts went off into the oblivion. An antenna on the back, can't find it for the life of me. I've looked and looked and looked. I don't know if it pinged off into the trash and I just didn't realize it. I took out the trash for trash day, and then the front windshield wiper also pinged off into oblivion. So those parts are going to be missing, but I'm okay with it. I just, maybe in the future I'll find the antenna, and I'll be able to go in and attach that afterwards. Luckily it's already painted, so all I'd have to do is hit it with a matte coat real quick, or a semi-matte coat, and then glue it in, and it's super glue, so it's real easy. So up next, I got the bomb bay doors ready to attach. I got the guide arms on there, so all I have to do is come in here and slide them into place. I'm going to do a quick test fit to check and see how it goes first. These are going to be a real tight fit. I'm going to have to kind of maneuver them around. Yep, there we go. There's that one, and then this one. Just push it into place once I get it lined up. It's almost there. There we go. Got that one in, and then we're going to get this one in, and then I'm just gonna, now that I have it in, I'm just gonna put super glue around the connection points, because that was a very tight fit, and there's not going to be much weight to it. So I think just putting a little bit of super glue around the joint point will be enough to hold it in place. And super glue on here is going to be barely visible, so I'm not really too worried about that either. So that one was fun with unobstructed view. Let's do this one with obstructed view. So let's get this turned around. Alright, so those are both in. Right, and I pre-staged that one with super glue, so that should be good to go. This one, yeah, I'm gonna break that one free, and I'm gonna repeat what I did with the other one. Alright, so those are both in. Now what we're going to do is work on the nose landing gear. We'll get that done. Like I said, I like to work from center and then work my way out on that. So first we're going to get the nose landing gear on. I want to make sure that the flat spot is on the bottom. Actually, I'm going to attach this first. Alright, so we got to put this piece in first. And let's see how this goes. I'm trying to... Alright, so I need... Alright, so that's on, and then we're going to get this landing gear attached. We're going to do the strut first, and then we'll do the I want to see where we need to put the super glue on. Alright, so there. We're going to grab an applicator for this. Also, before I do this, I want to do a test fit on this wheel to see how it fits on the actual... Alright, that's good. Alright, so these are a good tight fit. So come in here. Alright, so that's done. And then what I'm going to do before I put on the wheel is I'm actually going to get the landing gear doors on first. Just got to figure out which way goes forward. So, looks like... Yeah, I'm sorry that my hand is in the way, but there is no other way to get this attached without having my hand in the way of the camera, so I'm gonna get this. Alright, so that's dry. Now we get to do it on the other side. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and... Nope. I'm going to wait. Alright, so now I'm going to start working on the main landing gear. Right here. Got these to put on. Okay. This is our extremely tight fit. Alright, there we go on that. That's in there. That's a nice tight fit. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to come back in and we're just going to do this. A little twisty twist. Alright, those are in there good. Now we got to figure out which landing gear doors go where. So this one goes up here, like so. First, we're going to fix this bomb bay door real quick. Alright, those are on good. Alright, so now we got these last landing gear doors. I am honestly surprised on how easily these landing gear doors and the landing gear are going in. That was one of the things I was worried about on the final assembly for this kit. I had to fight the bomb bay doors a little bit, but they're working out, I think. Yeah, it looks good. Now that I got it corrected, I don't know why they sat so high up, but alright, so now we add the wheels, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to add super glue to this wheel face right here, and then around the sides. We'll just kind of line it up as good as we can, and then good thing is it's got that little locator bracket, so we know that the wheel is going to be in the right position if we have the wheel in the right way. Just repeat for this wheel. Add the glue to the hub for this. Line it up. Alright, so now we have our inboard flaps that we're going to knock out. I think I do have a couple. I got a couple of these print supports right here. I left those on. Let's see if I can get it to focus there. I left these on for the remainder of the build just so that way they didn't have the chance to break off. And now I can cut them off because I'm gluing it on. So that was the main reason why I left these supports on for these. And I mean, these flaps, they fit. Once I get it lined up. Wait, I need to get this over there. There we go. Like, I don't even need glue for it to hold. That's how good this fit is. So I'm just gonna get it lined up. Of course, now that I said that, I can't get it to work. Alright, so one flap down, 3 to go. Alright, so inboard flaps are done. Alright, so up next we have the outboard flaps, and I will say that you have to be extremely careful when you're moving these flaps around, because the center point between here is paper thin, so it will break easily. It did break for me, and I tried to fix it as best as I could. But again, it is wafer thin on that, and you want to make sure that you're just being extremely careful when you're messing with it. Alright, so on this one, again, we're just getting it lined up, then on here like so, and then we're just going to let it set and dry for a second. Making sure they are all lined up. Alright, so that's the flaps done. Now we get the engines on. I'm going to get these engines on, and then I'm going to break for lunch, and then after lunch I'll get the pylons on. And also that time will give enough time for the landing gear and everything to fully cure before I flip it over and start setting it on. But I'm also going to remove the mask on the underside for like the front canopy and this wingtip pod. So just need to do a test fit to see which one goes on which wing. Okay, now that's good. Flip her around. I'll zoom out some so you can see it. There we go. Also want to make sure that these are square. That does fully cure, and then we have the pylons to do, and also a couple clear parts. If I can use this UV glue, just a little bit here, just enough to fill it up. I'll grab another applicator. I'm just going to fill that hole up with this UV glue. Then we're going to hit it with a black light or a UV light. There we go. That clear part's done. Now we just need to do this one. Alright, up next we have our pylons. And then after these pylons are done, I'm going to break for lunch. I need to run a couple errands for lunch. So luckily Charlie is at doggy daycare today, getting a spa day. So she's getting a bath and haircut and all that fun stuff, and getting pampered more than what she usually does, because also next week is her gotcha day. I got her on July 16th, 2 years ago. So she is the namesake for this channel, and maybe one day she'll make a guest appearance. I know that's what a lot of people that I know want to happen. So maybe one day she will cooperate and make a guest appearance on the channel. Alright, so that's all the bottom pieces that are done and assembled on. Like I said, I'm going to go on lunch right now, and then when I get back, I'm going to remove all the masking from down on the underside of the clear parts over here, and then I'll get that flipped over, and it will be sitting on its legs once it has a good couple hours to dry. And then after that, I'm going to be attaching some of the other clear parts. So I'll be back in a little bit. I'm debating on if I'm going to end this part right here and then just do the final reveal with everything done. So I'll be back in a second after I make my decision. Alright, so I'm back, finished lunch, everything, and now it's time to get back to the Neptune. And the Neptune is on its legs, it's looking good and strong. Everything on the underside is looking absolutely marvelous. And just going around and checking, and I removed some of the masking tape from the wing pod, and then I am going to remove the rest of the masking after I get done with the gluing of the antenna line, which I'm going to do on camera with you, and then I'm going to get off camera, and then I'm going to attach the final little parts, and then that will be it. So I'm going to get everything ready for the easy line, which is really easy. It's just a little bit of super glue. Try to put down too much of it here, but I'm going to be using the Easy Line Fine for this. I'm going to grab a good amount here, and it does stretch a good amount. So alright, so that's good to cut. And actually I do need to get my fine tweezers out for this because this line is so small. So I'm gonna grab my grabbing my Ennies tweezers right here. These are very, very fine tip tweezers that you can use to pick up some very small parts. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little dab of super glue right on this front antenna piece right here. This little receiver hole. I'm going to grab my tweezers. Alright, and then I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to feed it through this hole. Then we're going to let that set for a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit more super glue to the end of it to really let that set. And then after that's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it tight onto this back piece. Alright, so that should be good enough. So let's move this over to here where you can see the tail. Alright, so the tail's ready. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some super glue to the tip of this part right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this. Gotta get a little bit more super glue for that. I'll hold this here for a good little bit. If I had a third hand, I'd be able to hit it with some kicker, but I don't have 3 hands. And then hopefully this sticks. Nope. Just, if you fail, just keep trying. What we're gonna do here, and the good thing about this is it does stretch a good long ways. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna hit the end of this with some kicker, so that way as soon as it comes in contact with the super glue, it's gonna instantly dry. So we're gonna put some more super glue here. Alright, and then release. Boom, we have our antenna. Alright, and then we have another antenna piece to add that goes up from the fuselage that connects about halfway up the antenna. So we have the hole for it right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that spare antenna line wherever it went. There it is. Alright, and then I'm going to cut off the part that's ruined by super glue. I'm going to drop some super glue in this hole over here. Where are you at? There you are. So just add some super glue to this hole. Right here. There was supposed to be a piece that went in there, but it again pinged off into oblivion during construction, and was not to be found. So I'm going to drop this into this little hole right here. Let that set, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come across here. I want to add a little bit of super glue to the main antenna. And then I'm going to bring that across slightly, like so. And this antenna wire that goes up and down is loose. It's not super tight. So now I gotta grab my fine scissors. Cut that off. All right. Actually, I think I'm gonna get some more. Let's try this. What we're gonna do here is we're just gonna get some white glue, some Elmer's glue. Alright, so now we have our little bulb, and when that dries I can come in and paint it if I need to. So that should not be an issue. Alright, so I'm going to get off of here now. We're going to finish everything up, and this is going to be the end of part 7 of the P2 Neptune build. The next part is going to be the final reveal. All I got left to do is remove all the masks, attach these 2 hatches, and then the propellers onto the front, and then this guy is done. So I'm going to get all that done, and then I'll get it over to the photo booth with some mirrors so we can take some pictures and everything, and I'll do my final review and rating of this kit in that video. So thank you for watching on this video, on this part. It was a lot of fun with the paint and the decals, and really made this thing come to life. So Again, thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you're new or a returning viewer, hit that bell button so you get notifications of when I post new content. So until next time, have a great day and stay frosty.